What's up, everybody? Welcome in. Good evening. 16 days away from Iowa football. The Hawkeyes versus Albany getting oh so close. And of course, that means we're inside 25 days away from the Cy-Hawk game, Iowa and Iowa State. So we are getting close to some big-time football for the Iowa Hawkeyes. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. This is tonight, our weekly call-in show, which means that the floor, the stage is set for all of you to jump in if you so choose. We're your hosts. I'm Josh Helmer. He is Zach Heine, of course. The host right here, Iowa Primetime Live, Iowa at the voice of college football, but one half of HawkeyesWire.com as well, where you get all sorts of Iowa coverage all the time. Zach, my friend, good evening. How we doing?
Josh, I'm doing great. 16 days seems so crazy. I mean, we have actual live college football next weekend on the TV, which is really exciting. And then, of course, the big games kick off on Saturday. And by big games, of course, I'm talking about Iowa and Albany on that Saturday. No other big college football games to talk about on that day. But I'm just excited that the off season's wrapping up and we're going to be able to talk about actual football on the field instead of rankings and things. I love all the off season stuff and the hype, but there's nothing better than breaking down on field performances.
Some real life football.
Yes.
Will be fun to do a post game show, and obviously our Monday shows here at 6:00 and Thursdays then at 6:00 turns into, again, still our weekly call-in show for you, but also an opportunity to just kind of look ahead to the weekend that exists for Iowa that week. So yes, my friend, it's about to start getting very, very good. 16 days out from Iowa football, the Hawkeyes versus Albany. And of course, now a couple of weeks in to Iowa's fall camp. We had Kids Day at Kinnick last weekend, and let's just dive in right there. So the schedule tonight, until you dive in, and I guess I should share this link in the chat for all of you out there if you want to chime in with us. Iowa at the voice of college football, Iowa Primetime Live tonight, the StreamYard link, the link to jump in backstage with us, it's right there in the chat. But the schedule tonight, otherwise, Kirk Ferentz, his thoughts on Kids Day. We got so much of his reaction to Kids Day to share with you from fall camp so far from Kirk Ferentz. This will be from the aftermath of last Saturday, right after Kids Day finished. A little Phil Parker in the barrel, in the queue for you tonight, and who knows, maybe some superlatives for different players for this Iowa football season as well. But first things first, let's dive right in. Kirk Ferentz, what did he think from what we all saw? His thoughts on Iowa football's performance from Kids Day at Kinnick.
Get out here and work, first of all. It's always good to be, have, not that it's a full house, but to have people here. Some distractions with the audio and all that stuff, but just a good chance to get out here and kind of simulate some situations. And it's pretty predictable, but, the penalties, exchange problems, I think we had 4 of those. 3 of them were shotguns, snaps, but that's the stuff we can't have 3 weeks from now if we expect to win. So just part of the process. But I think overall, after 9 days, guys have been, they've been working hard and showing improvement, a lot of improvement. A lot of the younger guys especially, it's fun to see them. They tend to improve a little bit more than some of the older guys, but I think we're getting good leadership still, just like I said yesterday. And, the work ethic's good, so, a lot of things can still be determined, but happy to be at day 9 here, and we'll get a little break tomorrow and reconvene, see what it looks like here tomorrow on the tape.
Okay, so there you go. That the opening remarks from one Iowa head football coach, Kirk Ferentz, and Zach, I think echoing some of what we said earlier this week, which is no real substitute for, whether it's good, whether it's bad, if there's position groups that you loved what you saw, if there's, a quarterback that you'd like to clean up a couple of mistakes here or there, tighten it, on and on and on. We can break down all sorts of position groups from Iowa's Kids Day at Kinnick, but there's no substitute for getting out. And even though, again, it's not 70,000 plus on this particular Saturday from Kinnick Stadium, from Duke Slater Field, but it gives you a little bit of juice that maybe your regular practices can't.
Yeah, and Kids Day, practice is it's not obviously playing in front of a packed out Kinnick Stadium on a Saturday, but you're still going in on a Saturday. There's people in the stands. There's lots of attention and fanfare and cameras, and people trying to break down every single thing that they can get their eyes on. And so it's still more that you can learn about just compared to a normal Tuesday afternoon practice. And I think Kirk Ferentz really put it best, where it's like hey, it's just working the kinks out, and some of those botched snaps hopefully are things that will get cleaned up from between now and when they take the field against Albany a little over 2 weeks. But I mean, we saw the good and we saw the bad at Kids Day. It's just kind of what you expect from one of these not early off season, but one of these big practices here before the season even starts. And that's just how Kids Day is. Like, you're gonna have things you like, and you have things that you want to clean up. And I have faith that Iowa will get those things cleaned up before that Albany game, and if not before, during that Albany game at the very least.
Yeah, try and get as much cleaned up before you get to said football game. How about this? I said Seth Anderson to me. It looked like he has a nice little rapport with quarterback Mark Granowski. That was one of the items that jumped out for me from Kids Day at Kinnick, to which, I think you fairly said, yes, a nice performance from Seth Anderson, but I'm going to need to see it on Saturdays when it matters the most. And I think a lot of Hawkeye fans, after the way the first couple of seasons for Seth Anderson, though injury certainly derailed him a little bit at Iowa last season, the first couple of seasons with the Hawkeyes, how that unfolded, folks want to see it happen in an actual game day. So that totally reasonable. But anyways, here's what Kirk Ferentz said about one Seth Anderson.
He's really had a good spring and a good camp here, and I think all the seniors, have really done a good job. And it's kind of weird. I think we have 4 seniors, and then like 4 or 5 other guys that aren't. But I think the whole group's improved, and Seth certainly is included in that, doing a good job right now.
Yeah, I liked what we saw from Seth Anderson this past Saturday. But again, Zach, hey, you want to see him go do it when it matters the most. Tonight, it's for all of you to jump in here. It's our call-in show. We've got the link for you in the chat. And Logan is hanging out, waiting for us in the wings. He is ready to talk Hawks. So, Logan, welcome aboard. Good evening. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about you?
We're doing great, man. What's on your mind tonight?
So I got a question about Iowa and Iowa State.
Fire away.
Do you see them continuing the series further down the road with all these Big Ten teams in our conference?
Yeah, it's a great question, because we're kind of seeing the elimination of some big rivalry games, especially these non-conference ones, with the expansion of conferences. And I think the expansion of the playoff is going to help that, because you can still play some non-conference teams, and it won't hurt your playoff chances or your playoff odds as much. So I think going up to the 12-team playoff is going to help protect some of these rivalries. And I just don't see right now a scenario where Iowa versus Iowa State is not a yearly occurrence. We'll see what happens with the Big 12. I ultimately think there could be a scenario where Iowa State ends up joining the Big 10, funny enough, if the Big 12 kind of falls apart at some point down the line. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying if that were to happen, it would make geographical sense. But I think Iowa versus Iowa State is a pretty sure bet, or as sure of a bet for a non-conference game that's going to stick on the schedule for a long time.
And that, Logan, was one of the big talking points from Big Ten media days. The SEC media days, Big Ten media days, Big 12, ACC, you name it, right? It kind of a lot of times turns into more than just, hey, tell us about your linebackers and your quarterback and wide receiver. It kind of gets into some bigger picture football stuff at times. And the Cy-Hawk rivalry was a big part of that from Big Ten media days for Iowa. And really at every turn, Kirk Ferentz made a point to say, as long as I'm one of the sheriffs in town in Iowa City, it would be my preference that we keep the Cy-Hawk game around. So I would imagine that just based on that, it has the backing certainly of Kirk Ferentz to stick around long term. Now, whether or not Kirk Ferentz and Beth Getz and whatever direction the next football coach, whatever direction they want to go, if those stars are all aligned, I don't know. But at least for the here and now, I think that the game appears to be safe well into the future.
I totally agree with you both on that. So I'll give you props to that.
Awesome. Thank you, Logan. And I think another point with that, too, is it makes a lot of sense for Iowa to keep Iowa State on the schedule because Iowa State is becoming a really good program. Like, it's not like you have UNI on the schedule or something like that. It's like, all right, why are we playing this team every year? Like, there's nothing to gain and everything to lose when you play this team. But Iowa State is they're getting to a spot where they're kind of becoming a perennial preseason top 25, top 30 program. And so it actually does help out Iowa a lot with that strength of schedule. It helps them out with a chance to pick up a key win early in the season in the non-conference. We don't see Iowa too often scheduling other big-name non-conference teams. Like I know, like Wisconsin has a home-and-home with Alabama and things like that. We don't see Iowa do that super often. So Iowa State's kind of their one big chance to pick up that important non-conference win that could play a factor deep in the season if they, were to get into a playoff race. And so I think Iowa State's elevation of their program makes this game a bigger bet to stay on long term than if Iowa State were a program that wasn't very good, and all of a sudden it doesn't make a lot of sense for Iowa to keep it on. So I think Iowa State, being a good program is a big help in terms of keeping this game being played every year.
Agreed. It definitely helps. And we'll see what happens with Iowa State and Kansas State. We're talking about a week from 2 days from right now. A week from 2 days from right now, we'll be talking about, okay, did Iowa State beat Kansas State across the pond? Did they lose an early contest? And obviously, if they win that thing, it would add a little extra juice to the Cy-Hawk game early in the schedule. Logan, anything else, man?
Nope, that's it. I just was curious about that series because I'm a diehard Hawkeye fan,
What do you think? I mean, do you want the game to continue, or how do you feel about it?
I do. I want the state to do something about it, too. Ironic enough, because it's because there's no professional teams in Iowa.
Yeah, it's basically like Iowa Super Bowl, more or less, with their sports,
Yeah, it's it's something to brag about for the whole 365. And
Sure.
But no, that's all I wanted to ask. So,
well, Logan, hey, thanks for your support, man. Thanks for jumping in, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, man. Thank you.
Well, okay. How about a little bit from Kirk Ferentz on the quarterback, right? That's what probably all of us were waiting to see from Kids Day at Kinnick. Any final thoughts there on the Cy-Hawk game? Again, that was a big topic of conversation from Big Ten Media Days. And, Zach, I see no reason why the game's going away. Even if you get that Big Ten SEC crossover, that would be what would throw it into flux a little bit. But it sounds like even if that were to happen, Kirk Ferentz is pretty dedicated to trying to keep that in-state rivalry game, which I think is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big game every year. If for nothing else, it's bragging rights for fans, bragging rights for those players. It's a big and it means a lot. Like you ask any player from Iowa on both rosters, and they'll tell you how big that game is. And so I don't think that there's any chance that goes away. And this year's game should be really, really fun up in Ames. I would recommend anyone interested in hearing more about that go back to our Monday show where we had Jake Brand of Cyclone Fanatic and Iowa Everywhere on. He did a great job breaking down everything Iowa State and previewing that Cy-Hawk game. So if you want to hear more about that, I would definitely recommend going back and checking out his segment from Monday's show.
Kirk Ferentz broke down his thoughts from Mark Granowski, the first look that all of us have had from Mark Granowski wearing the black and gold from Kids Day at Kinnick, and we'll share that with you in just a moment.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
And thank you, Mr. Mark Rogers, for that. Okay, so Kirk Ferentz shared his thoughts from what he saw from quarterback Mark Granowski from Kids Day and just his early impressions of QB1 so far.
He's been good. Yeah, every day's been good, and his judgment's really impressive. Like, he did some things there. You can tell he's on top of things. There are a couple throws maybe that were really good, and then a couple that are just like that. And 5 days ago it was like that. So he's closing that gap, and just again, mostly just so impressed with the way he operates and the way he carries himself. He's got a real, a genuine confidence, and it's earned, and you can tell he's thinking the right way out there. It's really impressive. No, he just needs work. I'm on the train. I think I'm sold on him and sold on the other guys. I like what we're seeing here. So it literally is a much healthier situation we've been in. But they're all progressing, and I think the biggest thing what you see of Mark today, I'm guessing will look better next Saturday, and then actually the second Saturday we probably won't be practicing, but that 3 weeks from now he should be playing a little better, and I think he'll just keep getting better during the year.
And that's the idea, right? Is just keep getting that little bit better as you count down to kickoff. And frankly, Zach, we'll need to see better from Mark Granowski. I have been banging on that drum and playing that trumpet for a little while now, leading up to Kids Day and certainly coming out of it, that I wasn't going to get too high, too low based on what we saw from Mark Granowski at Kids Day. I expected to see some rust from the quarterback, Mark Granowski, but I hoped we'd see some highlights too. I hoped we'd see some of what we thought had been lacking from this Iowa offense, and really on a couple of throws to Seth Anderson, to Reese Vanderzee, and some others in there as well. We saw that from Mark Granowski, but we did see some of the rust. The interception, right? Okay, you can get into the blame game. Where do you fully place the blame there? Some of the other inaccuracies. Mark Granowski will need to be better than what we saw from Mark Granowski at Kids Day. But nothing I saw from Kids Day leads me to believe that Iowa suddenly doesn't have the quarterback that they thought they got out of the transfer portal.
Yeah, and I appreciate Kirk Ferentz's his system of measuring Mark Granowski's accuracy, where he was this close at Kids Day compared to this close 5 days ago. I really, it's a mathematical fact right there from Kirk Ferentz. So I appreciated that. But I mean, you hit it on the spot right there. Like, he didn't do anything that would bring pause to or concern to Hawkeye fans about his ability to elevate the offense in 2025. I think you saw some of the highs, and you saw some of the peaks he can bring. You saw some valleys as well, and that's to be expected at the Kids Day practice. Like, it's not gonna Mark Granowski's not gonna come out of the gate, throwing for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. Maybe against Albany, I don't know, with the FCS school, but it's good to keep expectations in check with him. I think this Kids Day practice did a really good job of that, where we see the good, and now we see some other things that we want to fix. And so I think it's good for expectations, and it's good that we kind of know what we're going to get from Mark Granowski heading into the season, and not to expect perfection. I think that's really important for Iowa fans, is to keep expectations in check with what you want to see from Mark Granowski. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to throw interceptions. It's going to happen. But the overall hope is that he elevates this offense from the improvement that it was last year to all of a sudden, can this be, a good or potentially even great offense? I think that's what you're hoping for from Mark Granowski. And so I think we saw some of the really good things that are exciting Hawkeye fans, and we saw some of the other things that, want to get the rest out right now. And so I think Kirk Ferentz is pretty spot on with his analysis of Mark Granowski at Kipstead.
Okay. You, I believe, have written a preview story of the season openers, so that might have been the research that will help you with this. Ed says, what state is Albany in? Do you know without looking it up?
I believe New York. I believe it's in Albany, New York.
The Great Danes of Albany from New York. Ding, ding,
I'm
ding,
pretty
ding.
sure am I right?
That's correct, yeah.
Perfect. I was like, I think it's from New York. I wasn't quite sure about that, but yeah. FCS school, Albany Great Danes, making the trip all the way from New York to Iowa City here in a couple of weeks.
Tom and Mary Casey Stadium, the site for the Albany Great Danes, the home venue for Albany. That, of course, the season opening opponent for the Hawkeyes. So one of the other standouts, I thought, from Kids Day was the young running back, Nathan McNeil, who continues to flash and show that he could be pretty advanced, Zach, for his early Hawkeye career. And Kirk Ferentz said, yeah, Nathan McNeil's just kind of been a different type of dude from the first moment they started recruiting him, and obviously met the family as well.
Really, since January, he got here, and it's a good, not to diminish, the value of recruiting, but I can't remember where he was going, but he came up for a game October, early November with his dad, and got to meet with him afterwards. Just really impressed with both people. The dad played Florida, South Florida, when they were starting the program at Jim Levitt, so he played for Jim. And boy, I tell you, he and his wife are just a really impressive couple. She came up in December. We were really impressed with him. Thought he's a good player. And how much do you think he weighs? If you're guessing, if you were the guy with the circus,
175, 180.
Right, he's over 200 pounds.
Really?
I would have said 180 just looking at him and equipment, but he weighs 200 pounds. He's done a really good job. Yeah, so he's a really mature guy, and his mom and dad are just great people. So yeah, just really happy he's here.
By the way, I loved the kids sprinting around on the football field in the previous clip, talking about Mark Granowski.
It's Kids Day, yeah. Right on cue.
What struck you there, Coach, talking about McNeil and Nathan's family?
Yeah, I mean, it's the sneaky size of Nathan McNeil. He talks about him. You would assume he was 175, 180. And he's actually listed at 203 on Iowa's official website for the roster this year. 5'11", 203. So it's great size for a running back right there, especially as a true freshman in Nathan McNeil. And that's someone that it's very clearly a person that the Iowa coaching staff has really grown to like over this offseason. And it's really hard for a true freshman at any level, but especially at a developmental program like Iowa, it's really hard for true freshmen to get significant playing time, in their first year in the program. And so the fact that he's flashing already and is a really good sign for his prospects of playing. I don't think they break the red shirt this year unless he's just outstanding. And if he goes out there and it's, man, you cannot have this guy off the field, maybe, but I think that's someone that you would love to keep a red shirt on, especially with Kamari Moulton graduating after this season. You're gonna have some more question marks about that running back room. Am I right that Moulton's a senior? I don't want to assume that he's graduating if he's a junior. I can't remember what he is exactly.
Kamari?
Yes,
he's a pup, man. He's a redshirt sophomore.
Really? Gosh, I feel like he's been around the program forever.
Well,
I was dead wrong about that. I don't know why I thought he was a senior. It seems like he's been around for so long. That's my bad.
I have good news for you.
So Iowa's running back room is a lot younger than I thought. So who knows? Maybe McNeil not so worried about the redshirt year with him now. But I really think it's someone where it's still hard for these true freshmen to get on the field and contribute a lot during their true freshman year. And so I think he'll really have to impress in those first 4 games. But it's a really great sign that he's kind of winning over the coaching staff already. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's one of those first options off the bench against Albany. And I think he'll play pretty significant snaps in that second half against Albany and really show what he can do, albeit behind most likely a backup or third string offensive line. But it's great news when you have a true freshman that's already impressing the coaching staff and was able to show some flashes at Kids Day.
So you've got in that running backs room, you've got Jazz Patterson's he's the old guy as a junior. So that's your old guy there. You've got Moulton, we talked about as a redshirt sophomore. TJ Washington, Terrell Washington Jr. is a part of that running back room, but he can do a lot of different things for Iowa. If they want to line him up, he obviously worked last year a little bit at wide receiver. So if they wanted to put him out at the slot at times, I'm sure they could do that, though. It sounds like the plan is just exclusively in the backfield, at least for the most part. He's a sophomore, and then you got the couple of redshirt freshmen in there, Xavier Williams, Braven Dahl, and then the freshman McNeil and Braden Jackson, the walk-on freshman. So, relatively a younger group. Patterson, again, is that, I guess, elder statesman of the group right there. Kamari Moulton and Terrell Washington Jr., we didn't get a look at them, but you know how I feel about Kamari Moulton. I think he's going to be dynamite. I agree with your assessment right there. I think that Nathan McNeil absolutely has a chance to get some serious carries, some serious playing time, certainly against Albany and UMass in those early season non-conference games. I'd love to see Iowa get creative with Terrell Washington Jr. in those games as well. That's a good opportunity to get some of these guys that aren't named Kamari Moulton or Jazz Patterson the football. We don't totally know what we have with Kamari Moulton or Patterson, but you got a much better idea because you've seen more of those guys. So assuming things go according to plan and Granowski goes out there and he connects on a couple of deep balls to Anderson and to Gill and to Reese Vanderzeen, you run it up a little bit, you got an opportunity to really, with a number of your skill guys, Zach, get a ton of young guys and different playmakers, hopefully a look versus Albany. And I would imagine that, yes, Nathan McNeil, he should be one of those guys.
Yeah, 100%. I think, any player that the coaching staff is curious about or wants to see in actual live action should take the field against Albany. It's an FCS school, but it's still another team. It's players that aren't your teammates that are going to try and tackle you. And I think that it's a great experience for a true freshman running back to get on the field there. I don't think, barring some injuries, I don't think we'll see much of him in the Iowa State game unless that game ends up being a blowout one way or the other, which I don't expect that to happen. But UMass as well could be another good opportunity for McNeil to get on the field before Big Ten conference play begins. And if he impresses enough, maybe we see more of him in that Rutgers game, and then we kind of go from there. So I think it's a good sign that he's being talked about already and is flashing. And we'll see how he does against Albany, against UMass, and see if he can build from there.
Thor chimes in. Tyler Goodson leapfrogged several running backs as his freshman season went on. And who knows, maybe Nathan McNeil, if he gets an opportunity versus Albany, if, he gets some more carries versus UMass. Caleb Johnson, I know that probably at times, I certainly was in this camp. I'm not going to speak for all Iowa fans, but at times I'm asking myself, should he be getting some more carries just because you saw that explosive dimension to Caleb Johnson from day one? It was immediate. I'm thinking back, who was the rain game against where you had the lightning delay? Didn't Caleb Johnson have a huge night that night?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who that was against. Was that Nevada? I think it was.
That sounds right.
I think it was Nevada in that early season, September, rain delay, game kicked off again at midnight or something like that. I remember that game pretty fondly. I'm pretty sure it was Nevada.
And I stayed up and I covered that game all night long. It was stop, start, one after another. I'm going to try and get a picture that I can share with you on the broadcast before we get out of here tonight. Let's see here. Iowa versus Nevada. That was correct.
Perfect.
And let me see here. I can share this with you. We're doing this live, so bear with me, everybody, on that. Just to take you back. Look at that. Is that not beautiful? What an amazing photo from Kinnick.
No, that's a great picture. And, I remember that game. That delay was long. That was a long delay. And I think they had only played a quarter or a quarter and a half or something like that before the delay happened. And you don't see long lightning delays. It's not like baseball where they can play 5 innings and then, call the game after that if they don't want to restart. Like football, you kind of gotta, you gotta play the game whenever you can. And so I think that one went into the wee hours of Sunday morning right there, which is a long night for Hawkeye fans. But yeah, I do remember Caleb Johnson impressing a little bit late.
7 carries.
Late at night.
7 carries, 103 rushing yards, couple of scores for Caleb Johnson in that game. Let's see. He had a 40-yard touchdown run, and he had a 55-yard touchdown run. So he had the two.
And that was his freshman
chunk runs.
That was his freshman year, right? Because I was 20.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I think, maybe Nathan McNeil could show you a little bit of that this season. Okay, we've got Phil Parker to share with you on the other side. Caden, against my better judgment, I'm going to give you a chance in here to not just step right in and troll, to bring something knowledgeable to the table for Iowa fans. But this is 1 strike, 2 strikes, you're out. Just know that. I've got a quick hook, but I want to play fair here. I say, hey, we're opening the door here. And, hey, you have been patient. I have to give you, Caden, the fact that you've been patient. But I'm just letting you know. Quick hook, perhaps, on the other side.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
Man, how exciting is that to know that, you got games to, I don't know, maybe lay a little something down on. I know, obviously, not all of our audience, and it's maybe a little too close to home for Iowa fans at times, right. Any, sports wagering related items. But for those of you, some in our audience, I know, do enjoy. And Mark, I will not take it personally that the expertise of Josh Helmer or Zach Heine was not featured front and center in that network promotional right there.
I know. Take the under on Iowa football, right? That's been the winning play for the last 5 years or so. But I don't know. I think this year some more overs might be hitting for Iowa if Mark Granowski and this offense take that step. We all hope that they can.
It is an Iowa call-in show. We've got Phil Parker cuts to play with you. We want to do some superlatives, MVP of the season, offensive MVP, defensive MVP, you name it. I'm going to let Zach grab the ship and steer it for some of those superlatives. But, hey, the name of the game on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock, Iowa Primetime Live, is to open it up to you, the fans, Iowa at the Voice of College Football. I have to say, Caden has been patient, and we say, Caden, the diesel freak, good evening. What is on your mind?
Josh, Zach, it is always good to hear from you two gentlemen. You are one of my favorite gentlemen of this network. I'll give you credit on that, Josh.
Thank you, Caden.
Appreciate that, Caden. Thank you.
And Josh, do me a favor. First of all, cut the buzz hair, buddy. It's not honestly a good hairdo for you, buddy.
The buzz?
Well, I mean, buzz it down a little bit.
You
know what I mean?
It's gotten a little long. I'm due for a haircut. I can co-sign that.
But you know what? Iowa has one of my favorite events, and I think Coach, I'll give him his credit. He's helping these kids at Iowa. Give him credit. As an Ohio State fan, he's one of the coaches in the Big Ten I actually respect for what he does. And Mark Granowski, he's a quarterback in development that, Iowa has been looking at, and also they've been trying to, develop into a better quarterback. But I do want to talk about the 5'11", 203-pound running back for Iowa. I think the biggest game that he's going to have the issue that if he starts in, I feel like the Iowa game is really going to be something else, because Iowa State's defense is something I wanted to maybe get across, the board here. Just put a little card out there on the board that says, hey, is this guy prepared to run against a run-heavy defense? That's my question for Iowa fans. Like against the likes of, Oregon, Iowa State. That's just my opinion, but I want to know your thoughts.
Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. Iowa State would be that it'll be that premier test for the Iowa offense in general going on the road. But yeah, Nathan McNeil as well. I wouldn't expect him to start that game, but I think definitely could get some big carries in that game. And Iowa State, we talked to Jake Brand on Monday, and he mentioned that the nose tackle Dominic Orange is back and is really good, but they had some question marks and some guys battling for those defensive end positions. So we'll see how that group comes together against Kansas State next Saturday, and we'll see how they're looking heading into that Iowa game. But yeah, it'll be a big test for that Iowa offense as a whole. And then Nathan McNeil as well, if he's able to get on the field, we'll know a lot more about him after that Iowa State game if he's able to make some plays for sure.
And that's also on the road, just for Iowa fans know. That's at Ames, Iowa State Stadium. So I think the environment at Iowa State might be a key factor turning around the point. But you know what? I'll give the Iowa Hawkeyes credit if they beat the Cyclones. If they do, I'll give y'all credit. I'll come on here and I'll tell y'all, I'll give you credit for beating the defense that people said in the Big 12 was invincible. That even I've seen your counterparts at Iowa State fans on Twitter go massively off the rail. And just so you know, Josh, I follow you on Twitter. And I've seen your takes on Iowa football. Give you credit there, sir. Give you credit. So,
well, thank you, Caden. I'll have to hit you with a follow back. I'm not one of those uppity folks that, refuses
uppity. Uppity.
Caden, hey, thanks, man. We appreciate it, buddy. Have a good night.
Later.
There you go. Okay, so I was a little nervous.
Thank you, Caden. Yes.
I was a little nervous going in, admittedly. But okay, we made it out all right. He brought some thoughts in about the Cy-Hawk game, and I'll allow it. It was good. I did take a little bit of a pot shot for the hairdo, but that's all right. Come on, there's no big deal there. Dominic Orange going to be a big-time factor in that Cy-Hawk game, and we'll get the first look at Iowa State here very, very quickly as they do battle versus Mr. Avery Johnson and Kansas State across the pond. And if you missed it, Jake Brind was on with us from Cyclone Fanatic earlier this week. You could check that out right here, Iowa at the Voice of College Football. Just go back and look for our Monday show. We had a full 25-plus minute conversation about the Iowa State Cyclones and a little bit on that Iowa State K-State game. It's the first ranked matchup in week 0 dating back to, I want to say 2002, but it's been a long, long time that it's been a couple of top 25 teams in a week 0 game. So that's going to be a ton of fun. Iowa State and Kansas State. Okay, what about Mr. Phil Parker? Talking about a little Hawkeye defense. He met with the Iowa media about a week ago on Media Day, and he was asked, what does success look like for this Iowa defense? What type of barometer determines success in 2025?
So there's different ways to look at it. for us, we're always looking about how many points you give up. How many explosive plays is the biggest thing that we talk about. Because when you give up 2 explosive plays, and that's it, we usually hold people to 13, 14 points a game. Our job is to stop them from scoring. If you give up 3 or 4, then you're going to, it goes up to 28, 29 points a game. So to me, I'm trying to eliminate the explosive plays. You want to make sure that they're out there. What you don't want is guys going out there and trying to do too much. You know what I mean? Just take care of your business, make sure that you take care of your job. And to me, say, hey, what's successful is everybody playing at their highest level that they can play. That's really what it is. Not wins and losses. It's about, did I get him to the full potential that he needed to be at?
Okay, so that's not. I want us to limit opponents to this number on third down tries. That's not. Hey, yes, we do define it by. We want to, limit opponents to less than 15 points per game. A political response in some ways from Iowa defensive coordinator Phil Parker. Anything stand out from those opening remarks from your DC?
Yeah, I think eliminating the big play is something that Phil Parker preaches a lot, and it's something that's really important. And Iowa's defense has been pretty good with that over the last 5 years or so. But we did see a couple chinks in the armor last year. I think back to that Michigan State game up in East Lansing, where the defense really couldn't get a stop to save their lives in that game, and Iowa ended up losing. The Troy game in week 3, surprisingly, they gave up a ton of big plays considering the caliber of that opponent. And so we saw a couple examples, and it's something to be worried about. It happens. It's football. Iowa's defense has been asked to do so much over the past 5 years. Like, they're due for a mulligan here and there. And so it's not anything to worry about over 1 or 2 games, but I think it's something to keep in mind heading into the season. But the ideal hope is that you have an offense in place now that can handle your defense giving up 2 explosive plays, because in the past, Iowa hasn't had that. Two explosive plays means 14 or 17 points, and Iowa wasn't scoring that on offense. And so I think, the hope is that now you have a complementary team where, okay, if your defense gives up a big play, your offense is just going to come back and respond, and vice versa. And so hopefully it's a little less pressure off of that defense and off of Phil Parker's unit. And with that, with not having to go out and try to play perfect, I think that'll lead to a few more of those big play and explosive play issues getting cleaned up this year.
I think that Phil Parker might have been sharing a little something with us in this next clip that I want to share with you. And Phil Parker, he's not one to just hand out, Zach, any trade secrets. But I thought this could have been a little telling from your defensive coordinator. Here was Phil Parker, and he was asked, hey, who do you think might play at that famed Iowa cash position?
A couple. I think Lutmer is a guy that can slide in there, and we have Cohen, he can play in there. So both guys right now can play. And we have Watson sometimes slip in there. He's done it. TJ Hall probably could slide in and do it. Cole, Cal, he could do it. I mean, I think so. We have a couple different guys in the rotation, because I dislike anything else. I think there's guys on our in the back end that have to play multiple positions. And that's what I'm trying to do. I think Lutmer has a chance he could probably play all 5 positions. And then you look at the other guys, say, hey, can they play 3? That's it's a strong safety, free safety, and cash. Try to get the expanding their horizon and understand what we're doing in there. But the more you have, the better off you be.
What do you think caught my eyes and ears right there?
Well, Josh, I'll tell you, that's my favorite clip that we played tonight, because I've been singing the praises of Zach Lutmer over the past few months. He was on my list of 3 breakout candidates for Iowa. And I said in that list that he was the most confident that I was in to breakout. I really feel like Zach Lutmer is in a spot where he'll be able to play really well this year. And I was really impressed with what he was able to do on special teams last year. And I think now breaking in, and I kind of penciled him into that backup safety spot to Cohen entering here. But now, he's might start in the cash position. That's really exciting for me. I think Zach Lutmer is someone you want to have on the field for your defense. And so as someone who's been calling for a breakout year from Zach Lutmer, this really makes me happy to hear that he's going to be in that cash position. But Iowa, it seems like they're very confident with anyone filling in there, entering or moving over to cash. They even talked about moving Jalen Watson over there. Even TJ Hall, I don't think they'll take him off of that outside corner spots unless a couple of other guys really step up and look good. But he can play that if need be. But it's a Zach Lutmer quote for me that's me really excited about that cash position this year.
Yeah, that was what grabbed me as well. First name that he mentioned when you get asked, hey, who could play this cash for you, which is a really important position in Iowa's defense, right? I mean, that's somebody that, at times kind of has those hybrid linebacker safety skills for you, can do multiple different things. And Phil Parker said Zach Lutmer is somebody that we feel confident can play all 5 positions for us. That's cash, that's both corners, and that's strong and free safety for the Hawkeyes. So every once in a while, without out and out saying, hey, this player is going to play for us, a coach kind of says, hey, you should probably keep your eye on this individual. And I think we kind of heard that from Phil Parker right there about Zach Lutmer, that, look, if it's at cash, if at times it's spelling somebody at safety, maybe even at corner a little bit with Zach Lutmer, Zach is going to help the Hawkeyes in the defensive backfield. I feel pretty confident now saying that.
Yeah, I don't think it was a mistake from Phil Parker that he mentioned Zach Lutmer's name first. Even if it was just implicit, it tells me that, he's the person that Phil Parker feels probably the most confident in putting in that cash position. And it makes sense when you look at the rest of the defense. You want to have Wampa and Entringer on the field together, and you want to, throw Lutmer in there, and it makes sense to put him at that cash position, which is open now that Sebastian Castro is off into the NFL. And so I think really, your best 5-back secondary is going to be Lutmer. It's going to be Entringer, Wampa, Hall, and probably Deshaun Lee to begin the season. We'll see how Shaheed Barrows plays with Hall and Watson dealing with some injuries at the moment. But I think that's a pretty good secondary right there. Not a lot of household names. Not a lot. There's no Cooper DeJean or Jamari Harris or Riley Moss back there. But I think there's a lot of talent, and I think Iowa could have an underrated player back there who could be in the Big Ten Defensive Back of the Year running, whether it's Entringer or Lutmer. I really do feel like one of those two guys could be in the running for that race.
Cohen Entringer was one of the best players at Kids Day, both sides of the football, offense, defense. Obviously, he had the pick 6, but it was more than that. It was the way he flew to the football and applied a lick on Mr. Dahl. I thought that was nice to see. So he looks to me like he's identifying quicker, he's playing faster, and he's somebody that we've heard a ton of good things about. So Cohen Entringer, I think, looks like he's primed to have a big-time season. And who knows, Zach, you might be onto something, that he's somebody that we look back on and say, okay, yeah, he's in that Big Ten. I mean, that's hefty praise, right? But Iowa has historically had a guy, sometimes multiple players in a season that are in the mix or winning that Big Ten Defensive Back Player of the Year award. So it's not totally crazy to say that maybe Entringer can be that next guy.
Yeah, it'll be tough this season with everyone chasing Caleb Downs over there at Ohio State. I think he's probably the hands-on favorite right now to not only win the Defensive Back of the Year, but be in consideration for that Defensive Player of the Year and a top 5 to 10 NFL draft pick as well. So it's going to be hard to leapfrog Caleb Downs, I think. But if anyone on this Iowa defense is going to do it, I think Entringer is probably the best bet.
Well, let's see here. We mentioned TJ Hall earlier. I didn't play the TJ Hall cut, did I?
No.
Okay, well, here was Kirk Ferentz basically saying, yeah, there's no need to freak out about the TJ Hall bone bruise.
I don't know. I mean, just, there's no reason to – his demeanor's been great. He wants to get back, and he had a really good spring. Started out the same way here until he got injured, and so I'd rather him be out here, obviously, with everybody, but at least a guy who's played, he's still learning. His mind's wired. He's seeing things that maybe he wanted to see 3 years ago. So it's not a major concern at all. And, I think he'll be fine and get back here, and we'll be better when he's back on the field.
So there you go. I don't think either of us were super concerned with what was going on with TJ Hall. Obviously, you'd love for him to just be healthy throughout the entirety of spring and through fall camp. But, of course, the Bone Brew's other ideas for one TJ Hall. But Coach Ferentz saying no reason to panic. And what about Xavier Wampa? A big season for him, 5-star young man coming in. And now he's gotten shifted over to free safety and the Pleasant Hill product entering his senior season. How has that move to free safety gone for Mr. Xavier Wampa?
I think so. I mean, he's happy that he's done a really good job, and his leadership, and you can see now, since he's one of the the older guys now, and you can see the leadership that's coming out from him and the way he's playing, and he's doing a lot of good things.
So I probably could have set that up moderately better, Zach, but that was Phil Parker saying, yes, he does think that the move to free safety has been good for Xavier Wampa. Okay, we've got 9 minutes or so, so that's time to sneak in one more call from you guys. If you want to jump in here and chat Iowa football with us, I just toss that link into the chat one more time in case you do. But it's also, a good 9 minutes or so for us to share some superlatives for the Iowa football season. And I will hand it off to you, Mr. Zach Heine.
Yeah. So I had a couple in mind that we could throw around. And if anyone in the comments wants to, put their answer in as well, please feel free. I think a good one to start with, though, is the Offensive Player of the Year for Iowa in 2025. Is that Mark Granowski's award to lose, or do we get one of the outside playmakers, wide receivers, or tight ends coming in to win that one? I think my pick for that is probably, I don't know if this, it counts, but it's kind of a weird pick for Offensive Player of the Year. But I think Jennings Dunker at right tackle he was really impressive at Kids Day. He was really impressive to the Big Ten Network crew when they visited for their preview show for Iowa on Monday, and I just think he'll be one of the best tackles in the entire country, and he's a big reason and a big way for Iowa's running game, especially to be really good, and also protecting Mark Granowski in that passing game. So I would probably have to go Jennings Dunker, which isn't a super sexy pick for an Offensive Player of the Year, but I think it makes perfect sense for Iowa.
Hell yeah, it's sexy. That's Hawkeye football, baby. Give me an offensive tackle. I love it. And he is going to be gigantic. That right side of the Iowa offensive line, Pieper and Dunker, they had a really good day at Kids Day. And that was one of the takeaways for a bunch of folks, was that right side of the Hawkeyes offensive line really, really stood out. Obviously, left side of that equation, you're trying to get Bo Stevens back healthy. It provided an opportunity to mix Leighton Jones in there, which is not all bad, right? To see some different faces there, and Trevor Lauk and others are competing for left tackle. We'll see what that competition brings and how it ultimately shakes out. I mean, Granowski, right? Let's hope that he's the answer for offensive MVP. Let's hope that he's the answer for MVP, period, for the Hawkeyes in 2025. If not Granowski, then I think Kamari Moulton is a safe candidate. I just think, again, what you mentioned with Dunker, with Pieper, with Jones at center for you, all the experience there that you can lean on running right and hopefully running left before it's all said and done. I really like what you have in the backfield still. I know losing Caleb Johnson is a legitimate loss, but I think Kamari Moulton is primed for a big-time season. If not that direction, if not Granowski or Moulton, or if it's not the superstar right tackle for you, Reese Vander Zee, right? I mean, feels like somebody that we could be talking about at season's end offensively.
Yeah, I would certainly hope so. It's tough to pick an Iowa wide receiver for this award because of how they've been utilized in the scheme, and the end of your stats don't always look the best for them. But it'd be great if Reese Vander Zee ends up being that for you, or and Addison Ostrenga as well, which it would signify that the Iowa tight end room really had a breakout this year, which would be big. And so I think any of those skill position players, if we end up naming them the offensive player of the year at the end of the season, it's a really good sign for Iowa's offense if that's the case. But we'll see if we can get that production from the wide receiver room, especially in 2025. I think that we will with Mark Granowski in the fold, but it's kind of one of those things where I want to see it first, and then I'll be able to believe it. We'll shift over to the defensive side of the ball now. Defensive player of the year, and I'll toss it off to you first, Josh, for your pick.
I think Aaron Graves is going to be your defensive MVP. He and Mad Max, I fully suspect, will wreak havoc on opponents, but I think Aaron Graves will be the leader of that group, the guy that is creating the most chaos in opposing backfields with what he's doing as a one-man wrecking crew. So if I get one player defensively, that's where my vote's going. But I love some guys that are going to be stepping up into larger roles. We just talked about one of them in Cohen Intringer. I think he could be a sneaky pick there. Carson Shire looked like to me that he's no doubt going to be getting his nose on the football on many an occasion based on what we saw from Kids Day at Kinnick. But I think you almost have to lean into, okay, who have we already seen produce a little bit? And certainly Graves would fit that profile. What about for you?
Yeah, I think that defensive line is a pretty safe pick for anyone right there. I'm going with Ethan Hurkett. I think he's really good. And he's someone that doesn't get talked about enough nationally, and even within the Big Ten as well. I think we talked about this on the show a few weeks ago. I think he could be a double-digit sack guy for Iowa in 2025, coming off the edge and working with Graves and Llewellyn. I think that Hurkett's in for a really big 2025 season. It would not shock me at all if he ends up with the double-digit sacks and being the defensive player of the year for Iowa. No doubt in my mind about that.
The one that I was most intrigued by was most improved.
Yeah.
And there's some good candidates for this, maybe some early leaders in the clubhouse, if you will. Who's your first pick for most improved Hawkeye?
It's tough because there's so many new faces that didn't play a whole lot last year. So I guess we could call them most improved based on last year. But I had a couple of names that came to mind right away. Addison Ostrenga at that tight end spot. He's been good, but the overall stats haven't really backed that up. And so I think this could be a year where he puts it all together, becomes kind of that next Iowa tight end that we're all talking about. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's a most improved kind of breakout star. We talked about Carson Shire a little bit earlier. He's someone that, as you mentioned, was kind of flying around at Kids Day. And I think that, he's someone that could end up being really important for this Iowa defense and improving from what we saw last year as well. But also kind of want to give a shout out to an under the radar. Not under the radar. He's well known, but you wouldn't really classify a senior for this role. But Xavier Wampa, I think, is someone that Iowa fans have been a little disappointed with, considering the 5-star status out of high school. And last season was fine, but it wasn't 5-star caliber for Wampa. I think he's someone who, at a new position now, heading into his last year at Iowa, I think he's someone that could really be in for a big season and improve from what we saw last year.
T. Hink, a late arrival, but an arrival all the same. Mr. Taylor Hink in the house. Sorry I couldn't get on tonight. Do we know how long defensive back one is out? And the reason I, tossed that right onto the screen is because I think TJ Hall fits in well into this conversation of who could we be talking about as the most improved Hawkeye. Based on what Phil Parker and Kirk Ferentz have had to say, I think that he's got to be a name that you consider. TJ Hall at corner. And to answer your question, by the way, T. Hink, it was 1 to 2 weeks with the bone bruise, and that was last Friday at Media Day. So we're essentially 1 week into the 1 to 2 weeks. So that means maybe beginning of next week, and certainly if not the beginning of next week, you'd have to think the following week for sure. Kirk Ferentz, we played the clip earlier. He's not concerned at all, and so that's good news. At least he's saying he's not concerned about where TJ Hall is at in his injury recovery. But I think he's a name to watch. I think there's a couple of names. You mentioned Xavier Wampa for sure, and let's hope he's in that most improved Hawkeye category. But Cohen Intringer, right? I mean, I'm just saying, you show me a couple of times now in these live practice situations, and I know don't get drunk on Kids Day at Kinnick, but you show me that you're out there making plays with butts and seats, and that gets my attention a little bit. So I'd have to say, though it's probably pretty obvious, Cohen Intringer would be a serious candidate for most improved Hawkeye. And if I can throw one offensive player your way, I'm going to, again, take the low-hanging fruit because, look, I'll take the minus 250 or minus 500 odds. Give me the favorite. I think that Reese Vanderzee has a chance to definitely be a most improved Hawkeye that we're talking about as well. A couple of final comments from the chat, and then let's call it a night, Zach. We might have brought this up already, but are you concerned with the snap issues on Saturday? I mean, I think you got to be to some degree, right? I mean, I want to see it get ironed out, but big time concerned? No. And again, I've been banging on the drum on many an occasion that I wasn't going to, get all out of sorts one way or the other with what we saw from Mark Granowski from Kids Day at Kinnick. I expected to see some rust. And Zach, I think we got that. And oh, by the way, the one I think was not necessarily totally on Granowski. I think it was a poor snap.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about it. It's just ironing out the kinks here in the right before the season begins. Logan Jones is someone who you feel very comfortable with at center, and his rapport with Granowski will grow as the season goes on. So I'm not super pressed or worried about those snap issues long term.
I've got some breaking news on the way out the door. Next week is our final non-game week. Come on, baby. We're 16 freaking days away from Hawkeye football. Next week, we could really get into the weeds. We already talked, if you missed it, on Monday with Jake Brind, who is a part of Cyclone Fanatics. So we got the full Iowa State Cyclone slant at the beginning of this week. I will effort to get a good Kansas State guest to kick off next week for us because, of course, that's the game of the week in college football. Maybe we mix in a KU guest next week as well because Jalen Daniels, Kansas, that's kind of an intriguing team in the Big 12. I know that theoretically your paths won't cross Iowa and Kansas unless, let's hope, it's a college football playoff date against one another, right? Or maybe there's a bowl game situation where that could occur. But they open versus Fresno State, and that's kind of the other big power conference team that opens next week in week 0. So we'll see if we can't hop on the phone line, toss a text out, use the bat, signal, and get a good guest or two out of the state, the Sunflower State, next week from Kansas and from Kansas State, as we got real life college football, baby, next week. And, of course, the Hawkeyes kicking off the following week. Kenton, let's go. Yes, sir, baby. Football is back. That's going to do it for us. Zach, have a wonderful weekend, my friend. Anything big you're looking forward to this weekend?
No, nothing too crazy. Got a new bed coming in tomorrow, which has been a long time coming for me. Had the old bed for over a decade now. So new bed coming in. It's got the automatic raise the head up and stuff like that. Never had a bed like that. So
holy smokes. He is going to be churning content out, folks, left and right. He's going to be so well rested in this on this new mattress and in this new bed.
I'll need it for Iowa football season, especially some of those late night post game shows. Surprisingly, a lot of night games for Iowa, especially early.
That's good.
Which I always love. Night games at Kinnick, there's nothing better.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. That's great news. Congratulations. That will no doubt make you, no pun intended, a happy camper and hopefully very well rested. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. We got football next week. Go Hawks. So long, everybody.